systems of world order that take shape are not the results of natural law, certainly not historical or economic laws. They come from human decisions and human institutions, which can be made in different ways. Margaret Thatcher, her famous slogan was what she called T.I.N.A. There is no alternative. That's ideological claptrap. There's plenty of alternatives. The alternative that she preferred was one that was contrived and instituted in the interests of certain sectors of overwhelming power, and they're the ones who, surprisingly, benefit from the arrangements that they instituted. Whether we choose to accept them or not is another question. This is also true of what are very misleadingly called markets. Markets, in whatever form they take, are also constructed, managed, designed in specific ways in our particular system, and this goes back for hundreds of years. Markets are typically double-edged. Market discipline is a great thing for the poor and the vulnerable, but for the rich and the powerful, they demand and receive protection from the nanny state. That's the way markets have always been, with very rare exceptions, and it's dramatically true in the United States. We call this free enterprise economy and so on. That's only very partially true. For one thing, it's largely managed internally to huge tyrannies called corporations, which are interlinked in all sorts of ways in strategic alliances and so on. But quite apart from that, if you have the power, you expect protection from the state, and that's not marginal. If you look over the dynamic sectors of the U.S. economy today, bails out countries when they get into trouble. That's highly misleading. It doesn't bail out the countries. It bails out the lenders and the investors. Makes sure they don't have to take a risk for their risky and therefore high-yield investments, and the country pays for it. The poor of the country. So you take, say, Indonesia. People who are paying to ensure that the lenders and investors get paid off are the poor people of the country who never borrowed the money in the first place. Taxpayers who are expected to provide the free risk insurance. And this is true across the board. There was a year or two ago a major technical study by two European economists. That's the way the system works. Market discipline is perfect for poor people in El Salvador, working mothers in the slums. They have to learn responsibility, but not the rich and the powerful. They have to be protected. And that's the truth about neoliberalism. It's double-edged, and that goes back hundreds of years. That's a good part of the reason why the third world is the third world, the first world is the first world. When you go back 200 years ago, they weren't very different. They diverged enormously, and there are a lot of reasons for that. But one substantial part of the reason is that the third world had market discipline rammed down the throats by force, whereas the first world, England, the United States, Germany, Japan, without exception, every developed country, had a powerful state initiative that